Hello, it feels so good to have you join us again for your favorite program. This is Close Flow coming to you from NTA2 Lagos Network Center. Our delight always knowing that you are patiently waiting for us to unveil again yet a distinguished Nigerian who is going to be sharing with us some of his own expertise, expectations, some of his own apprehensions, some of his own fears or worries, or, well, probably disappointment, the way the story of Nigeria is being revealed or narrated. Again, we have yet a distinguished Nigerian here with us, somebody who, incidentally, for nearly 2 decades ago, he actually qualified from the Nigerian Bar Association, so that means I have an established barrister with me in the studio. But what are we looking at? Are we going to be examining, street life and how that relates to legal, management or judicial management? No, we are not going to be looking at that. We are rather here to consider one of the aspects of life building that globally, all over the world, everybody sees it as very key, very fundamental, very essential to how we can change the trajectory of how we are living as a people. So what the subject is all about says sort of as a social phenomenon. How do we classify, or how do we relate to, or how do we understand the importance and relevance of sport in our society today, this society that we have built today? Some people say that, as a life building factor, that sport actually can be used to improve national relations, ethical values, economic activities, and even our spiritual tenor. I don't know about all these details because I'm not an expert in that area, but I have with me a very profound mind, a globally recognized personality who is going to be doing justice to some of these issues. Well, in the US, for instance, sport is regarded as the second religion. But in Nigeria, how do we look at sports? It's a street life thing. Okay, well, we are going to find out from our guests if that is valid or if that can actually be changed. Stay with us as you get to meet who our guest is, and after that, we will get to see actually what it's going to say to us today. Stay with us.
Hey, beautiful, your eyes, your smile are all begging me to take you home tonight.
Now reading page 3.
Experience unlimited superfast internet access from Entel 4G.
Entel. Live more.
Experience unlimited superfast internet access from Entel 4G.
Entel. Live more.
So you saw the tip of the iceberg. That's the package we have for you today. That is Barrister Yahaya Maikori is here with me in the studio. He traveled all over the world to be sure that he got into our studio so that he can share his experiences, his expertise, and probably his apprehension with all Nigerians on how far the story of Nigeria is being unraveled. Barrister, you're welcome to Close Flow.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure to be here.
Now, you have to pardon Barrister. He couldn't, he's just coming from a wintry environment, and therefore, coming to our studio, he's just getting heated up, as it were. But when the conversation actually starts, the heat may actually double. Now, Barrister, how can we actually, from your own experience, from your expertise, how can we actually classify sports as a social phenomenon? How important or how relevant is sports to the way we live?
Yeah, well, of course, sports is not new. It's not an entirely new thing. Even the Olympics is over 100 years old. I'm sure from my great-great-grandparents, they used to say hunt for sport. I'm sure you heard that word. They're
Yes.
hunting for sport. So it's not just enough for you to hunt to eat,
But you should also hunt.
for sport.
Wow.
That's so obviously hunting was a sport beyond just gathering food for the family. So I think from time immemorial, it's been part and parcel of us. We're competitive people. I know sport signifies competition.
Yes.
So by nature, human beings are competitive, especially men.
Okay.
So sport has been part and parcel of who we are, through our biology, and then manifests in our social relationships. So sport is very important. You cannot run away from it. Unfortunately, sport has not played the role it should play
In our environment.
in our environment. In spite of all our passion, our love for sports, we have not been able to turn it into a significant contributor to our economy.
Now, okay, well, I love that because we know that in Nigeria, we regard sports as one of our unifying ethos, okay?
Yeah.
But you have just underlined that now. But we have not turned it around economically. So where is that defect coming from? Where do you think that slack is coming from?
I think that there are many reasons why, or there are many contributing factors for that. We're in the modern new world,
Yes.
modern day economy. And for you to jumpstart any kind of industry, to make it a commercial activity, first thing first you need to do is look at the policy. Yes, because as government continues to remove its hands from some of these activities, they need to bring in the private sector. And if they bring in the private sector, you must give them a reason why they should put their money
In that.
in that industry. Because an opportunity cost. So I think fundamentally that's where the problem is our perception. And that perception has to change. Primarily before, it was just for entertainment. You understand? And of course, things have evolved. But if you're going to get that kind of investment
Now.
that will turn this industry from just an entertainment-based activity that has no financial value or no return on investment, then you have to, first of all, as we lawyers say, look at the policy. It's always about the policy. You need to give the private sector the comfort to say, you know what, I can invest in this industry. And if I do invest in this industry, but then the other industries offering me these incentives, which one is the best? What's the gestation period of the business? What will be the return? Yes. What support am I getting from government? I think that's fundamentally the big issue. So we have not head-on looked at sports as it should. We have always looked at it as something we go compete, at the Olympics, get one medal, go for football competitions, get another small medal,
Celebrate.
and then we come back. Celebrate, we come back.
It's
After
all
that,
over.
all over. Then the winners and everybody who's meant to benefit from that whole
Experience.
victory, after the celebration, they're left with nothing in their pockets.
Okay, now that is, well, so we are seeing where the picture is coming from. It's saying to us that, so if you don't have the policy guidelines, then we are not actually, okay, but now, as a social phenomenon, sports itself is not characterized by any specifics like race, racism, linguistics, the tribalism. You just mentioned something here now, hunt for sport, which is like a classic statement. Not segregating, not discriminating. Everybody is welcome, therefore, to hunt for. But so why can't we employ sports, you know, for us to create that global equality we're looking for, or even a national unity? Why can't we do it? Why can't?
Okay, so it's not as if we cannot do it. We're doing it already. It's just that we no skills it. You know?
We are doing it,
but we have not skilled it. So you can decide that you want to farm produce in your
garden.
But the next issue is that if you get that right, how do we make sure that becomes a significant contributor to my livelihood? And if I'm going to scale, or I'm going to take it to that level, then it means I'll probably have to leave my backyard and go somewhere else. So it's been happening. We know about it, but we have not scaled it. There's no deliberate. We have not deliberately looked at the industry and see how we can use it for that purpose. But again, you know, if you look at what happened at the recently completed World Cup in Qatar.
Yes.
Nigeria was not there.
But
as soon as Nigeria was not there, we said, who's the next African country? You know what I'm saying? We started looking at all the alignments happening. So yes, we do, but we have just not scaled it. Again, it goes back to that policy I'm talking about. Because policy is really having a deliberate look at the whole value chain and look at all the stakeholders and see how you can get them involved, how you can make it, how you can make the returns. You know, the returns might not even be economic, might not be financial. So certain cases, sometimes it's just involvement. Sports is one of the industries that's known for volunteers. There's a huge level of volunteer work in sports. So yeah, that's why we have just not scaled it, and that is where we need to go to going forward.
Okay, all right. Well, something else I like to look at is this. We know that as an expressive national goal, Nigeria is often called or referred to as the giant of Africa. Now, do we see a natural synergy between our creative strides on the continent and our sporting abilities? Because we know that Nigeria participates in virtually all sporting events. But can we see a natural synergy?
Okay, so what I want to take from what you're saying is that, is there a commensurate return from our population?
Yes.
Because that's the key issue. The whole idea why people with huge populations are bound to excel in international competitions, because you have more people who have diverse physical and mental qualities that you can choose from
and send into
and
that.
Send in the years. Unfortunately, that has not happened in Nigeria. So 200 million people,
and yet,
after how many years, we probably have 1 or 2 gold medals, at most 3 gold medals. Compare that to the US, 300 people, 300 million people.
Yes, and yet.
And look at the quality of games, the awards, the competitions they have won, and all of that. So yes, we as huge as our population is, and as smart as Nigerians are, and as enterprising as we are, and resourceful as we are, we haven't been able to translate that into our international needs.
Now, let's come back home again, because again we're looking at Gen Z, Gen Y, and all that, and how all this can relate to sports. So if you're looking at the phenomenon of gamification, for instance, in the digital world, okay, is it an imperative revolution or a disruptive IoT?
It can go both ways. It's imperative.
That's the way you see it.
It can go both ways. If you say it's disruptive, obviously that's what technology has done. in almost every sphere of human endeavor. You know, technology is bound to disrupt the way we are used to doing things. Then the other thing you said, was it imperative?
Yes.
It's imperative simply because that's what so the Gen Z are digital natives.
Say that again.
They
Gen
are
Z, they are digital natives.
Digital natives. You know, that's the indigenous to
The digital environment.
Yes, that's how they brought up. That's what they know. They don't know any better. I'm sure you are struggling, you know, to maneuver your phone.
To navigate all these
Yes,
things.
you know, but for them, it's natural for them. You know, so it's disruptive, but it's imperative because that's what they grew up with. And technology permeates almost every human activity. And sure, right now, if you don't, whatever you're doing, if there's no technology attached to it, you're wasting your time. You obviously are either dying or about to die.
Yeah.
You know, so that's honest. There's nothing you can't run away from that. And in short, the statistics are overwhelming. As automation happens,
Yeah.
as AI takes over, there's going to be less human people employed.
And that's already happening.
That's already happening.
Amazon.
So how are people going to survive? They're going to survive through gaming. That's how they're going to survive. That's how they're going to make a living.
And the Gen Z, Gen Y, they are already positioned for all that element
They're doing it on their phones.
already.
Already, I mean, they're doing their phones. It's a huge industry, and when you go into the industry, you have to look at the value chain again. You know, beyond just the games being played.
Yes.
You have to look at the software, games, graphics, music, script writing, animation, you know, editing.
Wow.
So that's a huge,
Wow.
huge industry we're talking about.
Now, I would like us to look at this because he has touched on something that is very critical, and that's because we are looking at Gen Z, Gen Y, parenting, and childhood development. All of us know, remember, we can always recall or try to recall how sports played a very significant part of our development. Now, so the question is this. If experts have said that sports can be part of our developmental process. Social experts have been saying that. Okay, now, so in Nigeria that is populated by Gen Z or Gen Y, how come we are not profiting or locking into the WHO, you know, emphasis on making sure that the sustainable development goal number 3, that we look at health for all, look at, you know, good quality life being for all. Why would Nigeria take advantage and profit from that acceleration?
Well, so you can look at the sports industry or whatever WHO, MDGs separate from the entire Nigerian economy or the socio-economic realities of Nigeria.
You cannot look outside of.
No, you can't look at it separately.
It has to be.
Yes, because one industry cannot grow while the other one is suffering. So let me just put it in a better perspective. If people are living, 130 million people are living below poverty level, how are you going to grow sports? Sports are capital intensive industry.
Project.
Do you get what I'm saying? So that is directly related. Nigeria's effort or whatever the MDG goals is directly related to the economy, how the economy is doing. Because when you're poor, sports is a luxury.
Yes, when you have not eaten.
When you're not eating, sports is a luxury. In short, for you to be able to be an active sports person, your diet has to be complementary. You don't just eat
Anything
and apple and go and say it's not going to work. You know, so these are holistic issues that need to be looked at. In short, when some of these issues, key socio-economic issues, are attended to, you find out that MDG goals will be saliently met, especially when it comes to physical sports and mental sports.
Okay, I love that, and we must thank you for that, for alerting us to the underbelly of what we need to do. Now, but the important thing that we want to look at will be this. You have just said to us, if we don't look at it holistically, then we're going to have a lot of challenges in our hands. Now, but when we were growing up, sports and academic excellence or pursuit
yes.
were married. But today, I think we are looking at them differently.
Yes. Again, is so. Yeah. Back to what you were saying. When you were growing up, I remember that in first of all, most of us went to government secondary school.
Yes.
Every government secondary school was properly built with the sports facilities. There was inter-house competition.
Yes.
From there we had athletes and people who maybe went professional or went to go and represent the country.
The country, yeah.
But then, as the economy started suffering, government's investment in education started dwindling. Now, when it started dwindling, the private sector came into play. The private sector substantially drives education in Nigeria right now. But then again, there was no policy. So private sector, if you go to almost every street in Nigeria now, I'm sure in Lagos here, you see
A school.
You see, a facility, you see a training academy. But where's the sports?
Nowhere.
There's nowhere. You understand? So that's the fundamental problem, that when education became a private sector-driven enterprise, there was no policy to guide what the minimum standards for having, especially primary schools and high schools. So when you finish primary school and high school without any kind of sporting interest or training, you're going to go through your life with almost little or no sports training. So you're not going to develop in your late ages. So this is something that starts when you're from kindergarten.
Childhood, yeah.
So I think that's where the disconnect was. And I think it's something we address in the sports policy. I think.
Okay. Now, let's come back to the sports bodies, because again, you spoke about Qatar experience. 2022, Nigeria did not go to play football, but Nigeria came on stage again because of musical icons who performed at that closing ceremony and all that. Now, the question is this, Barrister. Now, why can't Nigeria, is this a question of policy again, or what? Why can't Nigeria proactively use or merge, the accent we have gained, in the creative sector, and marry with sports and make Nigeria maybe a destination point for global events, this, that, and that, and that sporting event essentially?
Again, like I said, this sports, first of all, requires huge investment.
So somebody has to prioritize it.
So let's take it this way. Music. Back in the day, so we talk about music. Music is the cheapest thing.
You can invest in.
The cheapest thing. Back in the days, you go to a studio to record. Now people are doing it on their laptops.
Yeah. Now.
Even on their phones.
Yeah. Yeah. Even in their kitchens.
Even in their kitchens. So that's the cheapest thing to invest in. You want to do a movie? We might not be doing Hollywood movies, but I think in Nigeria, from the kind of quality of films I see, people are doing movies for 5 million naira, 10 million naira.
Yes.
Conveniently. You understand? It might not be the toppest level, but at least it's taken us to where we are. It has become an industry now.
Right now,
to be
yes.
reckoned with. So, but if you talk of sports starts first of all from the facility.
To train.
That is the first thing to do. Any way you want to go look at sports, it must start from the facility. Wow. The facility is the foundation of any kind of sporting industry, sporting event, any kind of sport. It's the facility.
Wow.
So we can take that further. It's from the facility that the people who are interested in that activity will congregate. You can't do it virtually. You understand? It must start from the facility itself. Is there a conducive facility for
that will now attract?
Yes. So it's in the facility that you see the whole value chain. There's training, there's coaching, there's media, there's scouts, and the list goes on and on. And sports facilities are not cheap. Even if you look at esports that we talk about, which is really an online or electronic game, we call it electronic game. You still need your
facilities.
You need a facility. You need a big screen.
Yes.
By the time you finish running that, that's some money. So sports requires higher investments. And if it needs more investments, it simply means that there has to be deliberate effort to fund those investments. So essentially, sports is an heavily infrastructure-driven activity.
So what you're saying to us now, Barrister, is that we must have that understanding. If you don't have that right perception of what sport is, then we are not going to get it right.
We won't get it right because, again, we won't even get the value of it.
It will only be the entertaining that we are.
Yes, okay, so if you look at it, so the way we have understood sports was, let's go, let's compete, let's get the Olympic medal or whatever it is, and then we come back home. And everybody goes on this activity. Then 4 years from now, when the Olympics,
We are back again.
we're back again. You see, if you had the right sports facility or infrastructure, many things will be happening there. I've named exactly what can happen in any potential place.
Yes.
You understand? So until we look at it and understand how the facility, the sports infrastructure deficit in Nigeria is alarming. It's alarming compared to
Any other infrastructure.
Yeah, like compared to even South Africa. I don't have the figures now, but in Nigeria, I think there's a stadium to 7 million people. I think a stadium to 7 million people or thereabout, some kind of outrageous figure compared to somewhere like South Africa, maybe there's a stadium to 1 million people. So you can say disparity. And South Africa is just 50 million people.
Yes.
We are 200 million people. You understand? But again, in spite of that, I've started to see certain developments, grassroots. Everything has to be grassroots. It always cannot be the spectacle, huge 100-seater. No, we need to start driving this development from grassroots. Small grassroots, small facilities. I've seen lots of astroturfs around.
Yes.
You know, that is what we need to do. We need to have at least a facility in every neighborhood. From a simple astroturf where you play 5-a-side, you can have lots of activity going on there. You can be selling merchandising. You can a lot. So let's start from driving small grassroots developments, and we can do that by putting up some kind of incentives that ensure that small-time investors
can participate.
Yeah, can participate or pool their resources together to create these facilities.
Again, that's another brilliant observation, and that is actually along the line of where my next query will be addressing. We are looking at some notable brands, Adidas, Puma, Nike. Well, these are some of the premium fashion brands in sports that, well, we know them because they showcase all their products using sports. Now, so these brands or these countries or these notable names sparked some kind of industrial revolution. Yeah. And that's what you're talking about here. If you start small, then we can scale it up. So we know that Nigeria, for instance, in terms of fashion industry, we are big on the continent. So why are we not starting small, relating our fashion industry to our sporting experiences?
Well, so the issue here is this. For you to do sports in a commercially viable way, it has to be done on a mass scale. Right? Adidas sent to millions of hundreds of millions of people on a daily basis. Nigeria is 200 million people, so let's even say we're facing just Nigerians. We have a market for...
A captive market.
For merchandising and all of that. But then the other issue is the issue of the protection of intellectual property. Counterfeiting. You understand? Respect for the law.
Which we have not...
And it's not as if the law is not there. The law is there. It's just that the culture of the people is different. So that's one of the things that plagues the entertainment industry, and even the sports industry. Remember the Nike Nigeria's jersey?
Yes,
that was
designed
like 4 or 5 years ago, I remember.
Yes.
It was a hit. I think it sold out how many hours in Nike stores in Nigeria. But whatever they sold was a joke compared to what was being sold in Nigeria.
On the streets.
Everybody in Nigeria had a jersey. But you didn't go to the owner of the intellectual property. You didn't go to NFF. You didn't go to Nike. You didn't go to even the players, you understand?
Yeah.
But people made fortunes from it. So that's where the issue is. So you put in money and go into merchandising, but you're going to be sharing the money with people on the street, with Alaba people, just like what happened in music before. You understand? So that's the fundamental issue. Do we have the laws? The laws are there. Are the courts there to enforce it? They're there to enforce it. But you see, part of how effective you can be in in protecting people's intellectual property is the culture of the people. People need to understand that what is fake is fake. It's wrong. Culturally, we don't say anything wrong.
Getting fixed.
In fakes, we don't say anything wrong. We don't think we're stealing anything. You understand? And that happens even in music or in movies. People just go, a lot of people then, of course, technology has taken care of it now, but they just go duplicate, and you can't tell them they're stealing. It doesn't. For them, that concept of stealing is I stole your goat, not that they do something and put it in and then
make a copy of it.
Yes. So culturally, we don't understand that, and that's quite different from even just nearby Ghana here.
Or Togo.
Or Togo.
Okay, all right. He has nailed it again. That's barrister. They're telling us there again intellectual property rights and how we deal with some of these things culturally. We'll come back to that. We'll take a break so that you can have, let's give him a breather. Then I will load him with many more questions. And at that time, we are inviting you from anywhere you are in the world to be a part of this conversation. Maybe you don't agree totally with some of the things that a barrister already has put on the table, or you think he has not warned us enough. He has not raised enough red flags. So let us have your opinion as soon as we come back. When we come back, I'll give you telephone lines dedicated for you to actually either WhatsApp us, SMS us, or call us. Stay with us.
We must dilate the eyes. We look for if they have cataract, look at the back of their eyes. They have glaucoma. We do a full workup for them.
A lot of our government should actually open their eyes, especially southwest of the state.
When we're looking deeper than we ever looked in before to ensure that we close all the loopholes.
It manifests as physical support. And
every edition is an arresting conversation with distinguished Nigerians from various strata of the society, bearing their minds on how we can realize the Nigeria of our dreams. Join us live on Close Flow, Monday, every week here on NTA2 Lagos Network Center. Close Flow. The conversation is about you.
All right. Thank you for staying with us. I guess to see here, and so let me quickly run the numbers by you so that you can be a part of this conversation. It's very, very key that all of us we can add up to what he has already warned us or told us about. It's very important that Barrister Maikori is telling us that what sports can do. We have not even touched it. We have not touched the tip of it. So it's very important that we get to speak to him about this. Now, on WhatsApp, reach us on 080-2038-4130 on WhatsApp. 080-2038-4130. Or if you don't have data, just send us SMS 080-6350-8434. 080-6350-8434. From anywhere you are in the world, you can just use those two numbers to reach us very quickly so that Barrister Yahaya Maikori may actually let us know if we are trending appropriately or if we are actually defacing the value that sports can bring to our country. Now, he said something before we went on that break. He spoke about the fact that culturally we don't see anything wrong with fakes. Well, we just think it's normal. You can copy somebody's, but he's saying to us, we got to be very careful. And that actually will raise up this question that the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, was also raised about, the developing communities. Shango, for instance, now, one of the folkloric heroes, in Yoruba land, has actually become a global avatar. Is that not, in a sense, an infringement?
Okay, so you're taking it a bit deeper now. There's something what they call community marks, community trademarks.
Okay.
Which I do not have the details right away.
Okay.
But you also know that Shango too is a public
figure.
It's a public figure. It's gone beyond. It's a community thing, There's a way the real original owners, that is the, I think, Ife people?
Or your people, well,
there's a way they can own it, but then it's something that's for public use. It's for public use. The avatar itself, obviously, the way and manner in which it is used, whether for commercial purpose or not, needs to be looked at within the context of it. And of course, one thing you have to understand about also the law, they say the law aids the vigilant, not the indolent. So if you're careless with what belongs to you, the law is not going to support
do anything
you.
about it, yes.
Yeah, the law is for those who are, so,
vigilant.
Yeah, so these are things that are arguable depending on where you want to take it to, but the original owners of this Shango have to decide how they want to move with it. But then I know that under the UN Convention, there's a provision for community trademarks.
Brilliant again. I must tell you, the way you have opened up all this conversation, it's becoming very interesting. Now, another interesting thing that occurred to me, please call us so that we can get a barrister to speak up on your own case. A good number of our cultural activities are actually intrinsically sporting, counting from Durban, for instance, Kwahai, for instance, what's I want to call again? Even Arugungu Fishing Festival. Yes, okay. All these boat regatta and things, they are sporting. Now, so why are we not scaling up? Just like you have said, why are we not using them, creatively to scale up on what the sporting attributes we have in our country?
These things were big, like back in the days.
Yes.
80s, probably even, like mostly 80s, I think.
Yes,
70s, 80s.
Yes, 70s, 80s, yes.
But of course, with the economic downturn, you can see that many things...
We lost interest in many things.
Yeah, like I said, some of these things are luxuries. When you're a poor person...
You cannot eat. How would you?
Entertainment is a luxury. Sports is a luxury. So the downturn has made it, even those institutions that are responsible for them have also, they're kind of shirked from their responsibilities. This has to be a deliberate policy by government to drive growth in those sectors, you understand? So these are all the things that have affected the country. It doesn't stand alone, you understand? But obviously, with the way things have gone in the Nigerian economy, and these are things you can also just wait for the economy to pick up before. You have to deliberately drive them. And that's the only way you can engage the youth and reduce banditry and all those other things. People need engagement. It's a human instinct to be engaged. We need to engage people. And these are all avenues for youth engagement. So government needs to look at it again, and like we said, government cannot continue to fund some of this things. Government needs to look at this in more from a policy and advocacy point of view, and then see how they can get the private sector involved.
Okay, something else again I'm going to take you back on, because you mentioned it earlier on in our conversation, and that is because as we dive into the new future, okay, of, metaverse, Web3, and artificial intelligence and virtual reality. Now, my worry will be this. Can we see any red flags, virtual gamification, virtual relationships, do we see red flags, appearing anywhere, because you have such a vast experience in that area?
Yeah, so I mean that goes without saying. I'm sure you heard of the dark internet.
Yes.
That's those unseen activities that take place in the internet. Once you're in the internet, you're kind of amorphous. You're moving.
Yes.
It's not easy for you to be spotted. So definitely we need to look at that a lot more. Because lots of, we heard of the Yahoo people. These are all, so even the scams has moved from a physical thing now, from wash that we used to do before, to email compromises.
Yes.
So once you're on the internet, you're faceless, and the internet is just so huge, and the things that are doable there are just, you just cannot even fathom what is possible or impossible in that era. So definitely something we need to look at. There's the good, but the good always comes with the bad. So we need to be more enlightened about what the internet portends for us. We need to be ourselves play the role of
Vigilantes.
Yes, on the internet. But we need to be more educated. A lot's going to happen. In terms of human interaction, that is substantially going to reduce. In short, it's projected that when people go on holidays in the next few years from now, they're going to go on holidays from internet.
Virtual.
So the internet, the holiday is not holiday going to Tanzania.
I know.
No. It's that
staying at home,
staying away and avoiding any kind of use of internet, because the whole life, is going to be controlled by AI and all these other extensions we talk about. So that's where we're going to, and it's very, very addictive.
It is very, very addictive.
Very addictive.
Okay, all right. I like that again because you have been very frank with us, because truly enough, sports or some aspect of sports are very, very addictive. So how do we deal with the negatives when we are looking at gamification, when we're looking at even all these internet games that we play, when we're looking at betting, when we're looking at...
Yeah, so, okay, let me take it from the gambling industry.
Yes.
Because that's part of where that is very, very rife. It's not any different, but it's very rife. Yeah.
Yes, right away, right now.
But there are lots of mechanisms. It's like the Alcohol Anonymous.
Yes.
Which was an independent initiative to help with drunk driving. Yes. And we have a couple of them around now, whereby that would cause self-exclusion. You can self-exclude yourself. Some of the owners of the platform themselves can look at it and say, you know what, once you get to a certain amount of hours using or playing our games, you need to take a break.
Some of the operators?
Yeah, some of the operators. There are some of the software tools who already provide that. Wow. The regulators need to look at that as well. Your families and relatives need to look at it and say, you know what, you need to step down and take a breather, you understand? So there needs to be lots of mechanisms, but it's going to be a collective, collaborative approach to dealing with this kind of addictive activity. Even if you look at even just the use of social media is addictive. Social media has serious addictive tendencies, and it's something we need to look at as well.
Okay, I think we have a caller online. We lost it. I think we lost it again. Okay, if my producer can please help us get... here he is again. It says, Barrister Yahaya Maikori's point on the cultural understanding about intellectual property of knowledge is spot on. But my question is, how do we deal with the problem of knowledge to begin to fix some of these issues and to properly harness the value sporting activities can provide? This is Bitrus Michael from Kaduna.
Yeah, well, so I think education is very important. We need to understand that some of these talents we take for granted is really what our vocation is.
Some of these talents that we take for granted are actually
our vocation.
Wow. Wow.
So because it comes naturally to us, we
don't take it. Yes.
You understand? So you have this skill, you have this talent, but you are going looking for employment somewhere.
Whereas you should develop that talent and let somebody buy it.
Even if you're looking for a job, you should know that your talent is worth something. Now, once you have that understanding, your approach will be different. That's one. Secondly, we need to learn to be not a troublesome society, but a litigious society. We hate litigation. We don't know how to fight for our rights.
Or question or point something.
Yes, and so we'll say, no, just leave it to God.
My time will come.
My time will come. Do you know what I'm saying? But what you're seeing down there, or what has been tampered with,
should be corrected.
It's actually your ticket
to the next level.
To the next level. Or to self-sustenance.
So you're saying our mental picture has to change.
It's another cultural thing as well. Because if you went, assuming I had a case against you regarding some kind of infringement, what most likely happens is you're going to meet my uncle. Look at Yahaya, because I used his video, he's taking me to court. The uncle will call you back and say, what's wrong with you? What did you do? Because you should be happy. So culture, you need to understand. It's growing. It's not going to happen in one day. But the laws are there. We have very, very strong intellectual property laws in Nigeria. That people do not understand. But you go to people, different fora, and you hear people say, we don't have any copyright. How can you say you don't have any copyright? You just don't know how to apply it. Then you don't have the strength. I have a client now who has been in court against a telco for 8 years. 8 years.
But it's persistent.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what I said again, that law, they say the law helps The law helps the vigilant,
Yes.
not the indolent. If you sleep on your rights, people will trample on it.
You have heard that. Okay, I hope that answers your question. It says if you sleep on your rights, of course, you get the negative aspect of people trampling on your right. Now, something again that came up, we know that the passion that sports naturally can spark up in people can be very, very infectious, which you just mentioned to us some time ago. But now, looking at the pandemic and all that came after it, the social distancing and things that now emerged.
Yeah.
Do you think we are going to be able to get back to the time where sports can be like a social gathering, avenue?
It already is. I mean, so most of the international events are coming back.
Gradually.
Human interaction is coming back.
Yes.
While I know there's still some variants around here, but substantially, I think most physical events or engagements are taking place.
Okay. All right. So we're getting back to that now. We are still expecting our viewers to join us so that we can get Barrister to please look at some of the issues that you like for us to deal with. Now, one other area that I want us to look at will be for the Nigerian experience, for instance. I don't know where you are in Nigeria today, but we know across Nigeria, we have sporting capacities everywhere that we have not fully developed. So can we make sports a political agenda? Can we say to ourselves, if somebody is campaigning to become president, for instance, we must look at what space or sports occupies in that
first of all, if anybody coming into when the next election is done and dusted, we'll have a new president. Anybody who wants to move this country forward must address sports squarely. So if you look at the NBS, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, and they have sports under entertainment or creative industry. Sports is huger than that.
Yes.
It's bigger than entertainment and than music and film.
It is.
In short, it should be like the
industry umbrella
the industry carrying or backing, as you say how in Nigeria, backing the music and the film industry.
Yes.
You understand? So it needs to be. That's the only way. So look at where banditry, kidnapping, ransom, restive youth,
ritual killing.
All of these things are happening. It's just lack of engagement. And the UN Interagency for Sports, they've done a whole study on the effect of sports. And one thing is very clear in every society. Once there's more sports activity, there's less crime. So it is a tool. In short, sports is the language for peace. So nobody who's going to take over will not look at. You have to look at sports. You have to look at sports. You have to look at it intricately. You have to address it. You have to mobilize these 200 young people, or let us say about
150 million
young people, and get them engaged for different reasons. One will be for economic development. Two will just be for physical fitness and wellness. So one of the indices for measuring economic growth, the contribution of sports is not only the direct revenues, it's also what it saves the economy, what it saves you in going to hospital, what it saves you from being sick, the lack of productivity that comes from being sick. So even those losses, the indirect costs of not engaging people in sport
are eliminated.
Wow. Because if you have 100 people and 50 were sick, the economy lost productivity. You understand?
Yes.
So nobody can run away from sport. It's a clear mandate for anybody who becomes president of or any leadership position in whatever the chair is, whether it's state government or local government, whatever it is. You have to directly look at this industry. Too many young people
roaming the streets,
doing nothing.
Okay, all right. So that is another huge takeaway for all of us. Is saying that we can use sports actually to clean up all these other elements. Now, something again I must quickly look at is that exponentially, sports all over the world are seen as the softener to the hardships of life. That is, when things are too difficult for us, when we are not, we look at sports as distraction, as a healthy distraction. But reveal the sharp edges of betting, branding, and addictions. Can we say that sports can still be used as a softener? You know, knowing that when you go to bet now, it's it's like a life. So can we still look at sports in that regard?
So let me get a question, because there are two ways of looking at it. So
life is hard. Okay. Sports can soften it.
Oh yeah. But because sports is the key. It's how will I put? Is a catalyst for social interaction.
Yes. Once there is a sporting event somewhere, all of us.
That's it.
Without caring who is a
social
barrister, who is
integration, leadership, mutual accommodation. You understand? I love Manchester. You love Liverpool.
Yes.
I'm very passionate about Manchester. You're passionate about Liverpool. But we must sit down together and watch it. That's social interaction. We're learning how to bond. We're learning how to be supportive of our teams, and yet, as much as we would love to convert you, we learn to also respect your choices. There's a lot going on there. It's a catalyst for social interaction. And that's why when Nigeria or any other Nigerians are playing, or Nigerians playing, we forget our
ethnic groups.
We forget everything. We don't care whether there are 20 people playing at Igbos or is Hausa.
The important is that they are winning.
On a higher scale, at World Cup, we went there, we supported the African teams. So we look for affinity, different layers of affinity, you know.
So you're telling us now that, in a sense, if we don't build up our sporting capacities, we are actually not living as a nation.
That's what I'm saying, because, you know, if there are loads of activities, Nigerians were doing a lot of sporting activities. One thing for certain is that as the owner of a team, if I'm building a team, I'm not going to build a team based on religion or tribe. It's just going to be on really the capacity you have to deliver. Now, if you're having that across multiple societies, yes, multiple games, you can imagine what kind of interactions are going to happen, what kind of bonding we're going to bond.
The domino effect.
That's domino effect. In short, I can tell you one thing, that what we are seeing in the society today is a failure of sports.
All right. We have another viewer here. He says, hello, guys. I love sports from Gospel in Abuja. That's what he just says. I love sports. That's from Gospel. He didn't say anything more than that. My producer should please look at what Gospel is saying. So what do you want to say to Gospel? He loves sports.
Yeah, he's in a good place. Like I said, that's going to be the next agenda for any government coming in.
The love for sports.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not only for young people, even for just wellness, for just fitness, for well-being.
Just like WHO.
Yeah, because right now we live a very sedentary life. You enter your car in the morning, or you enter the bus in the morning.
To the office.
To the office. You come back to the office. You eat apple.
You sit and watch television.
You watch television, you sleep. You understand? So sport is not just even for competition, even just for health, wellness, mental well-being. Sport is very important. So we, all of us, have a duty to get involved in sports, to mobilize our children and our loved ones to get involved in sports at whatever level they can participate in.
For what you have just said, Barrister, do you think we can do a street activation where people can actually campaign for sports to be included in agendas of political office holders?
Yeah, well, the issue is this. So to give credit to the current minister, they just passed the National Sports Industry Policy last year. It's reputed to be the first in Africa. And sure, I've had engagements with people from South Africa who say, I wish you people could just go across other African countries and just get their policies also running. because it just simply signals an invitation to the private sector. You know, the government has done what they were meant to do. They've come up with the policies, the incentives, frameworks. What they need to do is drill down and ensure that these things are in place. Once you do that, investments are like, policy to investments is like bee and honey. Once people say very clearly that, see, I'm getting 5 years tax break
For doing
investing in
this,
sports.
yes.
The minister also started something last year called Adopt an Athlete.
Yes. Yes.
Or you
Yes.
can be even adopt a team.
Yeah.
You can scale this, adopting a team. If you adopt a soccer team or a football team or volleyball team, what do we get? You can get this in your tax rebate.
And that's across the board.
That's across the board. So the agenda has already been put on the table. The next government that comes in must make sure that these things are implemented. All the incentives are clearly
Stated.
implemented. All the suggestions from that policy are put in place so that people can start running with it.
Barrister Maikori, thank you very much for coming on Close Flow.
Thank you, my pleasure.
It's been a wonderful 1 hour with you. Some of the nuggets we got from him, I'm sure we can take them to NFT and see how much money we can earn from that. Because that's what you just told us. The environment has changed. So don't sit down and not agitate for what, of course, you know is yours. If sport is not on the agenda for the next government, then Nigeria is not breaking out of this particular trap that we're in. Thank you so very much for coming on the show.
My pleasure, thanks.
We hope to have him again. Maybe by the time Nigeria is hosting the next Olympics or World Cup, yes, you should.
Hopefully.
you should be here with us to cheer. You know what we are going to discuss on that panel. For the moment, until that time comes, we just say thank you for watching. Go to all our close social media handles and be sure to link up with our barrister so that you can share some of your experiences with him. Thank you for watching and bye for now.